It happened on a Wednesday evening. Candace Owens sat across from a panel of global political commentators during a live-streamed segment titled Africa and the West, A New Debate. The studio was modern, loud with lights, polished desks, and international flags waving in the LED backdrop. Then she said it. With a smirk on her face and her fingers steepled like a judge, she looked dead into the camera and said, "Let's stop pretending. Africa is a burden, economically, politically, even morally. We're always expected to fix their mess." The room fell into a kind of uncomfortable silence. One of the co-hosts shifted in her chair. A young African student in the audience gasped audibly. The camera caught it all. Within minutes, "Africa is not a burden" began trending on social media. But it wasn't just angry tweets. There was a rage building. Candace's words weren't just offensive, they were deeply insulting to millions watching around the world. That night, producers made a desperate call. They needed someone who could respond, not with anger but with truth, dignity, and power. Someone who wouldn't just clap back, but change the entire narrative. They reached out to Captain Ibrahim Traoré, and he said one word: yes. The next morning, news spread like wildfire. Ibrahim Traoré to respond to Candace Owens, live tonight. Every major outlet covered it. Twitter exploded. Schools, offices, even churches in Ouagadougou rearranged their day just to catch the moment. Across Ghana, South Africa, Kenya, the diaspora, people waited. He was flying into Washington. At the airport, people clapped as he passed. Some reached out to touch his shoulder. A mother whispered, "Tell her the truth, for all of us." But Traoré didn't smile. He looked calm, focused, like a soldier walking into a storm. Backstage at the studio, producers buzzed nervously. A staff member leaned toward him. "She's going to come at you hard. This is Candace. Don't let her control the narrative." Traoré simply nodded. He walked toward the stage. His boots echoed with each step. The doors opened. Bright lights. Audience packed. Candace already seated, grinning. And then, he entered. The crowd stood. A long, roaring, standing ovation. The kind that goes beyond politics. This was pride. This was hope entering the room. Candace looked shaken, but she didn't flinch. The host raised her cue cards and said, "Captain Traoré, welcome. We know why you're here." He looked into the camera and answered calmly, "Yes, I'm here, because silence is no longer an option." The show was live. Over 28 million viewers tuned in globally. The moderator gave Candace the first word. She leaned in, that signature confidence sharp in her voice. "Let me be clear," she said, smiling. "I meant every word. We've poured trillions into Africa. And what do we have? Corruption, civil wars, failed governments. That's not an insult. That's reality." Gasps echoed across the audience, but Traoré didn't blink. She continued. "And now we're supposed to clap for leaders like you," she said, gesturing toward him. "Just because you wear a uniform. What has Burkina Faso done except kick out the West and call it independence? Tell us, what exactly have you achieved?" For a moment, silence. The camera zoomed in on Traoré. His eyes didn't waver. He didn't look angry. He looked wounded, not for himself, but for the people watching. For the barefoot child in the Sahel. For the mother grinding millet under the sun. For the forgotten souls buried in sand and debt and drone strikes. Then he spoke softly. "You want to know what we've achieved?" He paused. "We buried our dead without your help. We rebuilt with our own hands. And unlike you, we don't mock the broken." Candace's smile faded. The room froze. This wasn't just a debate. It was about to become a reckoning. As Ibrahim Traoré sat across from Candace Owens, the entire studio held its breath. But instead of snapping back, Traoré opened with a story. When I was 10, I saw my village burn. It was not by my people's hands. It was a war we did not start, a fire we did not light. He paused, eyes fixed on the camera. I carried my baby brother, wrapped in nothing but a torn cloth, 3 days through the bush. No shoes, no food, just hope. That's what Africa carries. The room went completely still. Even Candace, so quick with retorts, shifted in her seat. You call us a burden? He said softly. But we've carried the weight of your history, your corporations, your weapons, your silence. Somewhere in the crowd, a quiet sniffle broke the silence. The camera caught an African-American woman wiping her cheek. Then something unusual happened. Viewers across continents began uploading their own stories. From Nigeria to Detroit, from Accra to Atlanta. The world wasn't just watching anymore. They were feeling. And Candace? For the first time in the broadcast, she had no words. Candace regrouped. She leaned forward, her tone colder. So we're victims now? Is that it? She asked. Everyone has history, but successful nations stop blaming others. Why can't Africa? The audience murmured. Some agreed, others looked uneasy. She didn't stop. Burkina Faso kicked out French aid, kicked out American presence, then blamed us when things got hard. That's not leadership. That's pride dressed up as progress. For a moment, it seemed she was winning back control. But Traoré didn't rush to reply. He let her words hang, let them echo. Then he looked straight into the camera and said, Pride? No, it's called dignity. A quiet gasp. We stopped begging. We chose hunger over humiliation. That's what the world doesn't understand. We are not poor because we are weak. We are poor because we've been looted. He pulled a folded photo from his jacket pocket, an old faded image of children sitting in an empty classroom. This is my village school. No roof, no electricity. Do you know what we did after aid left? He held up a second photo. New desks, painted walls, solar panels. We built it ourselves, with calloused hands and broken tools. The audience erupted in applause. Candace didn't expect that. No one did. The applause faded, but the tension didn't. Candace tried a new tactic. All right, let's talk solutions. What do you want from the West? What's your big plan? Traoré paused, then quietly. I don't want your money. I want your respect. Another silence. The host leaned in. Captain, can you give us an example of the Africa you're fighting for? He looked down for a moment, then began. There's a girl in Djibo. Her name is Mariam. She stepped on a landmine planted decades ago by foreign soldiers. She lost her foot. The crowd stiffened. She didn't cry. She only asked me, will I still be able to dance, Captain? A wave of emotion hit the studio. I promised her, yes, but not just her foot. I promised her a country where girls can dance without fear, where no child steps on the past we didn't create. He turned to Candace, voice steady. You see a burden. I see Mariam, and I carry her dream on my back every day. Tears welled in the eyes of the host. Even viewers at home felt it. This wasn't just debate. This was a man's soul laid bare, and suddenly, millions began to cry. As the cameras rolled, Traoré's voice grew calm but firm. Candace, you say Africa is a burden, but do you know the history behind that burden? He looked beyond the lights, as if speaking to every person watching. For centuries, our lands were stolen, our people enslaved, our cultures erased, and the scars remain, not just on our soil, but in the hearts of millions. A soft murmur filled the studio. You see poverty, chaos, and corruption, but we see a continent still healing, still fighting to rise. A continent that carries the weight of centuries of injustice. He paused, then added quietly, "And yes, we sometimes stumble. But is that a burden or a story of survival?" Candace's face showed a flicker of doubt. The viewers felt it too. Traoré's next words surprised everyone. "Despite everything, we do not hate. We forgive." He spoke of his people's strength to forgive those who once caused unimaginable pain. Forgiveness is not weakness. It is courage. It is hope. The host glanced at Candace, who now seemed more thoughtful, less defensive. "You ask why Africa struggles? Because it has chosen to rebuild rather than to tear down." He told a story about a refugee camp in Burkina Faso, where neighbors helped each other rebuild homes destroyed by conflict. "We choose unity over division. We choose love over hatred." Many watching felt tears welling up. This was not just a political debate. This was a call to humanity. Traoré then shifted the focus. Africa is not just a continent in need. It is a place of dreams, dreams that reach beyond borders. He spoke of young inventors in Lagos, farmers innovating in Kenya, and artists painting hope in Soweto. "These dreams are our true wealth." Turning to Candace, he said, "You called us a burden, but we are a promise that no matter the past, we will rise." The audience erupted in applause. Candace's smile faded. Cameras zoomed in on her expression, a mixture of respect and reflection. For millions, the narrative had shifted, and the world was watching. The studio lights dimmed slightly, the tension thick enough to touch. Candace Owens sat rigid, eyes sharp, but now clouded with uncertainty. She had delivered her points boldly, but Traoré's calm strength was unsettling. Traoré leaned forward, voice soft but steady. "You speak of burdens, but do you hear the silent cries behind the headlines? The mothers who wait through the night for their children's return. The farmers who wake before dawn to feed millions. The teachers who build futures with torn books." He paused, letting the weight of those invisible lives settle over the room. Africa's story isn't found in poverty statistics. It's found in every heartbeat fighting to survive and thrive despite the odds. The camera panned across the audience. Faces glistened with unshed tears. This was no longer just a debate. It was a human plea. Candace's lips pressed tight, her usual fire subdued by the raw truth unfolding before millions. Traoré took a deep breath and continued. "Our struggles are not because we lack effort or intelligence. They stem from years of exploitation, resources taken, lands stripped, futures stolen." He spoke of real people, miners in Ghana, who extract gold but live in poverty, of farmers in Burkina Faso, who toil with little water, of children like Mariam, who dream despite broken roads and broken schools. "When you call us a burden, you ignore the hands that built civilizations, the voices that shaped humanity." The studio was silent. Even the hosts looked uneasy. Traoré's eyes shone with quiet fire. "We carry the scars of a history written without our consent. But those scars do not define us. They remind us of our strength." His words weren't just facts. They were a heartfelt challenge to anyone who truly listened. The final moments approached. Traoré's voice grew firmer, filled with unshakable resolve. "Respect is not a favor to be given. It is a right to be demanded." He looked directly at Candace. "You spoke for millions without knowing their story. We ask not for pity, but for acknowledgement, for truth." He spoke of the rising leaders, the women entrepreneurs, the students inventing solar power, the artists healing wounds with songs. Africa is not a burden. Africa is a future. The audience erupted into applause. Social media exploded with the hashtag Africa is Future, trending worldwide. Candace Owens's face reflected a storm of emotions. Shock, respect, and something new, humility. The world had witnessed something rare, a conversation that transcended politics and touched the soul. The studio's atmosphere thickened with emotion. Traoré's voice softened as he shared a secret. "I carry more than my country's fate. I carry the hopes of millions of children who sleep hungry but dream big." He described young girls in Ouagadougou, studying by candlelight, dreaming of becoming doctors and engineers, dreams often unseen by the world. To call Africa a burden is to ignore these dreams, to deny these children the dignity of hope. He glanced toward Candace, his gaze steady but full of empathy. "Our struggles are heavy, yes, but the weight we bear is not a burden. It is a promise. A promise that despite the darkness, we will find light." A single tear slid down a viewer's cheek as the live chat flooded with heartfelt messages. "Hope is the heaviest burden to carry," Traoré said quietly, "and the strongest." Traoré's tone shifted, steady and inspiring. Africa's greatest power is not in its resources, but in its people, united. He recounted how communities in Burkina Faso joined hands to rebuild schools, farms, and roads without waiting for foreign help. "We rise by lifting each other. No foreign aid can replace the strength we find in unity." He urged viewers worldwide to see beyond stereotypes. "We are not your burden. We are your partners in building a better world." Candace's expression softened, reflecting growing respect. The audience moved, sat in thoughtful silence. Traoré ended with a call. "Let us build bridges, not walls." The moment was historic. Traoré's closing words echoed through the studio. For too long, Africa's story has been written by others. Today, we begin to write our own. He spoke of the continent's untold stories, of resilience, creativity, and renewal. We are not shadows to be cast aside. We are the dawn breaking through the night. The crowd rose in applause, some wiping tears. Social media exploded with Ars Africa Rises. Candace Owens sat quietly, the spark of change in her eyes. The world had witnessed a powerful shift. Not just a clapback, but a call for respect and understanding. And the internet would never forget it. The studio was silent. Every eye locked on Traoré. His voice was steady, yet carried the weight of 1,000 untold stories. "Candace, when you call Africa a burden, you forget this is the continent that gave the world humanity's first home." He spoke of ancient kingdoms, of empires built with wisdom and courage. "Our history is not a mistake, it is a legacy, and we stand on it with pride." The room felt electric. Even Candace's face showed a flicker of understanding. "Yes, we have scars, but they tell of survival, not surrender." Traoré's words echoed through living rooms worldwide, stirring something long forgotten. Traoré's gaze softened. "My people are not statistics. They are mothers, fathers, children, with dreams and fears like yours." He told a story of a mother in Burkina Faso who walked miles daily for clean water. She does not see herself as a burden. She sees herself as the heart of her nation. His voice cracked slightly. That heart beats fiercely. It refuses to stop. The audience was moved to tears. Cameras captured Candace's silent tears. This was more than a debate. It was a revelation. With calm conviction, Traoré ended, "Africa is not your burden. It is your future." The crowd erupted. Social media exploded. The narrative had shifted, forever. Viewers were left breathless, tears streaming. To everyone watching, if this story touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and comment below. Share your thoughts, your stories. Together, we rewrite the narrative. Let's light up the world with hope, respect, and understanding, because every voice matters, and yours is one of them.